One of the beauties about our committee is its diversity, not just in terms of its people, but in terms of us as political parties as well and who we represent. My name is Claudia Webbe and I am the Member of Parliament for Leicester East and an active member on the Environment Audit Committee, and I'm very pleased to be there. So good morning, and I'm pleased obviously to speak to you as a member of the EAC at the launch of this report, an expression of our recommendations and what we see going forward in this agenda. Our report urges the UK government to go further and faster than it has so far, without a doubt. First and foremost, the report, I believe, pushes the government to do more to meet its promise of net zero by 2050. But we know from climate scientists and what they've told us that the global carbon emissions budget, the amount that we can generate to even have a 50% chance of keeping to 1.5 warming or less, will be used up in just 6 years at current output. In other words, from my perspective, 2050 is far too late, and even if the UK government keeps its promise, a long shot, I believe, we will have missed our opportunity. I think second, it is clear that even if governments do everything else right that they possibly could, the markets will never resolve this crisis on their own. Market mechanisms to achieve net zero targets won't be enough to rid us of fossil fuels by 2050 or indeed anytime soon. The City of London, as Philip has indicated, has been the top-rated green finance centre for 4 years running. From where I sit, however, in Leicester, and I look at the square mile of the City of London, it sits for me as one of the top 4 for investments in fossil fuels. The global finance system is unfit for the challenge. We cannot simply harness the market when direct government control and intervention is required. The markets will not stop investing in fossil fuels unless they are made to do so. And I believe that our report makes that clear. Companies will not stop profiting from fossil fuels unless they are made to do so. We cannot accept greenwashing or allow investors and companies to fiddle whilst the world burns. So relying on investor behaviour will not lead to fast enough action on climate. Our report therefore highlights that global fossil fuel financing are in their hundreds of billions and trillions, outpacing significantly investment in renewals. And even if companies did switch entirely to renewable alternatives, the profit motive is unsuitable and inefficient for a world-threatening emergency. And some might say that I would say that because I'm a socialist. And yes, I don't believe that the market can deliver. Finally, our Environment Audit Committee report acknowledges that the government's plans have in significant parts no substance or precision on achieving a just transition. There appears to be no urgency by government to implement mandatory transition plans, leaving almost everything to corporate boards to decide. So you've heard of the saying, comply or report. In other words, if you simply report that you haven't got any green finance plans, that is fine and good enough, according to the direction the government would be going if it doesn't take on board the recommendations that we are making in our report. The UK saw in the death of its coal industry how thriving communities become wastelands if there is no just transition. Moving to net zero without one will decimate even more of the UK and have even more horrific impacts on the developing world. The points I've mentioned, I believe, are far from exhaustive. The world needs their governments and us as politicians to think more radically and act faster. And there is nowhere near enough, in my view, of that happening, and no sign of that at the moment. We need to act faster. The world can't wait.